Furthermore, what the opponent displayed earlier wasn't just the first level of the profound skill. The real agility dance steps had a total of 7 levels, only the last level could only be mastered when the cultivation grade had reached 10th stage realm. Golding the cultivation method scroll, Huang Yueli pondered deeply. Looks like this refinement is not just an assessment only, the refinement itself was a chance, and every time we passed a story, those were all assessing the practitioner's comprehension, innate talent and determination, as well as the state of one's psyche to remain calm under pressure. And through various ways deployed to win the opponent, the experience itself was already a kind of reward. So things really is fishy. How could my opponents in the previous stories be possibly so weak? So according to the designer's train of thought for this refinement, each story should have its own meaning to it. But as she had an instant win in those stories, she couldn't tell what the meaning was for those stories. 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. Huang Yueli had yet to find out why when she was sent to the 7th story. At the 7th story, she finally met a real opponent which was of great threat to her, 4th stage realm 5th levels heaven grade genius. Using her 4th stage realm 1st level, going up against a 4th stage realm 5th level. If it was an ordinary 4th stage realm 5th stage practitioner, Huang Yueli wouldn't even bat an eyelid. In the past when she was only a 2nd stage realm 9th level practitioner, hanging the 4th stage realm imperial tutor upside down and beating him up, was already an easy-peasy matter to her. Now that she had broken through to 4th stage realm, her potential was much stronger than before. The problem was, the opponent whom she was now facing, was a heaven-grade genius just like her. It was only until now that she finally had the chance to find out how strong the God Realm's heaven-grade geniuses were. Facing this kind of opponent, even Huang Yueli was unable to avoid entering a tough battle. During the battle, there were several times when she got injured, but using the agility dance steps initial level skill which she had just acquired, she managed to escape and hid in one corner as she repeatedly comprehended and grasped the experience which she had just obtained from the battle. Not only that, while she was facing extreme conditions during the battle, her cultivation had also hit a breakthrough. Huang Yueli had spent a total of 7 days in the 7th story, and during this period, she had continuously advanced twice, reaching 4th stage realm 3rd stage. Under the fact that her cultivation was merely 2 small realms away from her opponent, and that she had spent exactly 7 days to observe her opponent carefully, Huang Yueli finally accumulated enough knowledge and used it to her advantage as she defeated the opponent. Finally, ended. Huang Yueli heaved a long sigh of relief. Congratulations to refiner Huang Yueli for passing the 2nd stage of heaven grade assessment perfectly. You are the first in 10,000 years to have passed this assessment. Your reward will be awarded by the Inheritance Tower's guardian. 10 breaths later, you will be transported out of this refining mystic region. 10, 9, 8, 3, 2, 1. Following that, a blinding ray shone and Huang Yueli was once again sent to the bottom of the Inheritance Tower. Right before her was a shocked Huang Zixiao and an agitated little phoenix. You actually did it, you actually passed the heaven grade refinement perfectly, furthermore. So quickly. Huang Zixiao said in disbelief. Huang Yueli's lips arched upwards as she smiled. Small matter, I said long ago that I could do it. She sounded cocky when she said that. If she had said this right before the refinement, Huang Zixiao definitely would silently curse this youngster for her arrogance and self-satisfaction. But since she only waited till now to say this, he couldn't say a word of rebuttal. You can also listen on. Because she had already used her potential to explain everything. Huang Zixiao was still in disbelief as he looked at Huang Yueli from head to toe, sizing her up as he shook his head and muttered to himself, how could this be possible? How on earth did you do it? Could it be that your bloodline is purer than those direct descendants? Or is it because of your excellent power of comprehension which no one could match? Strange, this is really too strange. Saying that, he stared at Huang Yule in the eyes as he questioned, how on earth did you do it? The first stage's opponent's potential is a heaven-grade genius who is the same as you, and in every stage following that, the opponent's cultivation would increase significantly. Most people would already expend a huge amount of effort trying to deal with the first opponent. Although there are some cases where the disparity of the practitioners are very huge and could use a few breaths' time to pass through the first stage, but those are top geniuses who failed during the innate testing assessment, and most of them would miss out just by a little to join the next grade, which was why they were able to display such standard in this assessment. However, you're already a heaven-grade genius. Don't tell me you still surpass ordinary heaven-grade geniuses by a huge chunk. When Huang Yule heard this, she suddenly went into a blank for a moment. You say. The opponent in the first story is a heaven-grade genius whose potential is equivalent to mine. Huang Zixiao failed to understand that. That's right, why? Don't tell me you didn't feel it. Huang Yule was shocked, but she managed to shut her mouth in time, not telling Huang Zixiao the truth. Because when she first entered the refining mystic region, the opponent she met on the first story was so weak that he collapsed at the first blow. It was until the fifth story's opponent before he could barely battle her for a longer period of time. According to Huang Zixiao's interpretation, her first story opponent should be a fifth story's potential. Why was her opponent so weak then? Just at this moment, she suddenly recalled that right before she started her refinement, Huang Zixiao told her this. Don't blame me for not reminding you. The difficulty of this stage is related to your age and not comparable to your actual potential. To tell the truth, you're going to turn 15 but still at an early stage of fourth stage realm cultivation. As compared to our sacred phoenix race in ancient times, your cultivation is considered low. The enemies you encounter when you enter now will be much stronger than what you can imagine. Her opponent had nothing to do with her potential, but related to her age. Huang Zixiao thought that her cultivation wasn't enough because she was going to turn 15 soon, but her cultivation was only at fourth stage realm. To a god realm's heaven-grade genius, this cultivation speed was really slow. But what Huang Zixiao didn't know was, she just started cultivating barely half a year ago, and in her past 14 years, she was a trash who didn't had any profound energy. Perhaps, Huang Zixiao's understanding of the inheritance tower's refining regulations wasn't too clear. The refining opponent's difficult, to put it more precisely, wasn't in accordance to her age, but according to the number of years of cultivation. To God Realm's top geniuses, they started cultivation at the age of 4 or 5, and that was a commonly seen thing, so by the time they reached 14 or 15 years old, they had already cultivated for almost 10 years. Only at 4th stage realm, indeed wasn't outstanding at all. But, what if one had only cultivated for less than a year? Less than a year, and already advanced into 4th stage realm, shocking should be the word to describe this. And the refining opponents whom she met were accorded based on her cultivation time, so naturally they would be much, much weaker than her. You can also listen on. An enlightened expression finally appeared on Huang Yueli's face. In this way, all the strange things that she had met with earlier were all explainable. How is it? Why are you not saying a word? Huang Zixiao urged. Huang Yueli's eyeballs rolled as she smiled. I can't remember what my first story opponent was like, but he simply felt too weak. Just like what you guessed, looks like as compared to ordinary heaven-grade geniuses, I'm really much more powerful than them. Huang Zixiao was rendered speechless as saying that was equivalent to not saying anything at all. But saying that, if she was really so strong to such an extent, then defeated the opponent who was much weaker than her indeed didn't take much effort. To describe how she had won was indeed a tough thing to do. In this way, could it be that this unremarkable young lass really had the innate talent to crush all the other geniuses among the sacred phoenix race? Huang Yueli took a look at his confused expression as her lips curled upwards, but she kept silent, letting his imagination run wild. Actually, what she had said earlier was not to trick Huang Zixiao. Because she was able to use a time frame of less than a year, before she was able to attain at the same cultivation level as the other heaven-grade geniuses, who had spent many years, although there were other elements mixed in this, but in totality, this also proved that she indeed was much stronger than the other geniuses. At least in terms of cultivation speed, she seemed to be much more outstanding, shining above the others. She paused for a moment before she switched topics. That's right, Senior, since I've already passed the second stage of refinement perfectly, then am I entitled to a reward? You know, if it wasn't for the advantages, I wouldn't take part in some refinement. Huang Zixiao took a helpless glance at her, as he almost forgot that this young lass was not only an incomprehensible genius, she also had an incomprehensible money grubber. Of course you'd have a part of the reward, follow me. Saying that, Huang Zixiao waved his hand and a large door appeared in mid-air once again, as he led Huang Yueli into it. Huang Yueli walked in and took a look and felt slightly surprised. She had thought that behind this door was a treasure vault, pill refining room, or at worst, a secret room. In the end, there was actually a huge hot spring and the water within gave out a strange crimson color, and it was obviously boiling hot, as smoke kept fuming out. What is this? Huang Zixiao replied, this is your reward for scoring perfectly in the second stage of refinement. Huang Yueli went into a blank awe. But, how am I supposed to take this back? Hearing that, Huang Zixiao's eyebrow twitched as he replied in a sarcastic tone, still want to bring this back, keep wishing. The reward that you have won is to soak in it once. Huang Yueli blinked her eyes and following that, she made an action which showed that she was spitting up blood. What on earth? I've expended so much energy, risking my life to pass through so many stages, in the end just let me soak in this once. This deal feels like I've lost out a big deal. This scheming merchant tone made Huang Zixiao almost lose his calm as he tried his best to tone himself down. Looks like you're despising this. Since you don't want to soak in it, then forget it. There are plenty of people who can't wait to grab this opportunity. What do you think is in this hot spring? Just ordinary spring water. Surely not to that extent, right? I think, probably some spirit spring in the god realm. Huang Yueli guessed. Huang Zixiao sneered, spirit spring water. Don't belittle the sacred phoenix race. You can also listen on. How would the sacred phoenix race use that measly thing as a reward? Although God Realm indeed has a God-grade spirit spring which could improve one's cultivation by leaps and bounds, but this hot spring water is much more valuable than that kind of spirit spring. Hearing that, Huang Yueli's spirits was lifted immediately. Really? What kind of water is this? Since Huang Zixiao didn't even care about the God-grade spirit spring water, it went to show that this reward really was very valuable. Huang Zixiao used the corner of his eyes as he shot a glance at little Phoenix who was tugging at Huang Yueli's hem as he slowly revealed the answer, this is Phoenix's blood. What? What? He had just finished his last word when two shocked voices were heard ringing at the same time. Huang Yueli's tone was shocked and joyous, as the expression in her eyes immediately turned different. How valuable was the Phoenix, a spiritual beast's blood, that didn't require anyone to tell her. Anyone knew that if they could use a spiritual beast, like the true dragon or true phoenix's blood to clean their entire body, the effect was to cleanse their meridians and expand their arteries, giving a huge leap to their physique. To a practitioner, their usual way of cultivation was mainly to absorb the heaven and earth's profound qi, using it to expand their arteries and expanding their dantian, but towards their own physical bodies, to improve it through cultivation was very difficult. Although there were specialized ways to strengthen their bodies using some secret cultivation methods, but the effect was not as good as compared to cultivating profound qi. So although everyone knew that it was important to strengthen their own bodies, but there seemed to be no way to do so. Because to strengthen one's physical body, they mainly needed to use some rare treasures, but those were something which they hoped to obtain but could not wished for. Whereas among these rare treasures, the most valuable of it all were spiritual beasts' blood. Of course, there was no longer any more spiritual beasts in soaring heaven's continent, so using the spiritual beast's blood to strengthen one's body, this only existed in ancient manuals and legends. But now, Huang Yueli was facing a pool of phoenix blood, furthermore, such a huge pool of it. Not only could she use it to clean her body, she could even soak in it. Just what concept was this? Huang Yueli felt that she was in a dream. She only had one thought right now: sacred phoenix race was indeed a true god realm aristocrat. The definition of this was called rich and imposing. Just as Huang Yueli was getting excited, little Wang Kai's heart was filled with shock and fury. He used his sharp and tender little Shota voice to scream out loud, "What? How could you be like this? How can you kill phoenixes and let out their blood? How could such a cruel, terrifying and scary matter happen? This is an absolute humiliation and maltreatment to us phoenix race." He was feeling indignant at injustice as his little body started to shake entirely. Huang Yueli had yet been able to pacify him in time when Huang Zixiao opened his mouth. "Why? We killed phoenixes and let out their blood, what can you do about it? Cry out some more, beware that I'll kill you as well and let out your blood. You dash." Little Wang Kai shook even more violently, as though it was about to faint at any moment. Huang Yueli helplessly rolled her eyes as she said, "Senior, earlier when I was in the refinement, had my little Wang Kai offended you somehow? Please stop scaring him, he's still young, and isn't used to be scared." She didn't believe that the sacred phoenix race would kill phoenixes and let out their blood. After all, this clan used phoenix as part of its name, and furthermore there were often heaven-grade geniuses who could contract phoenixes, so that meant that sacred phoenix race and the phoenix race's relation should be rather good. Huang Zixiao had said those, obviously intentionally, so she didn't know what trouble the little fellow Wang Kai had gotten into again. You can also listen on. Huang Zixiao gave a humph. He lectured, "This phoenix of yours is really trashy, all because of how you have pampered him. I have a book here, Guide to Raising a Phoenix. Later before you leave, I'll give it to you, so bring it back and learn from it properly." Huang Yueli immediately replied, "Okay, that's just great. I'm grateful to Senior." She had long suspected why her little phoenix didn't grow up, so it's because the method which she reared it wasn't correct. Huang Zixiao was so generous to send her a book on rearing phoenixes, such a good thing, it would be weird if she didn't agree to it. Although she knew that it was because of her outstanding potential, so Huang Zixiao was trying to entice her, but Huang Yueli was still rather grateful. But little Wang Kai, on hearing these words, seemed to be standing on an empty field as the skies were filled with lightning, and it had just struck onto his head as he was struck dumb. "Finished, finished, it's all finished." Earlier that evil-intentioned old man said he should be eating chicken drumsticks, and now he even gave female devil a guidebook on how to rear phoenixes. There was no need to even think, to know that there must be several ways in it on how to torture it. Female devil was already malicious enough, and how would this guide to rearing a phoenix, his future days? Will there still be any good days to pass? But, not waiting for little Wang Kai to protest, Huang Zixiao suddenly changed topics as he pointed to the red water and said, "This is real phoenix blood, but it wasn't obtained by hunting for phoenixes. 10,000 years ago, the sacred phoenix race's clan leader had contracted an extremely powerful phoenix spiritual beast. But the clan leader had unfortunately died in a battle within the god realm. His phoenix didn't want to live alone, so it decided to end its own life. Before its death, it agreed to donate all its blood to the sacred phoenix race. That year, sacred phoenix race wasn't as strong as it is now, this phoenix blood pool, was one of the flourishing reliance that we had. Numerous arrays were set up around its surroundings, and using a huge amount of rare treasure, did we manage to ensure that the phoenix blood pool staying intact even after 10,000 years, and even till today, its major effect to cleanse meridians and strengthen arteries. Huang Yueli's expression was filled with admiration. This is so incredible. But little Wang Kai, however, still put on a look which didn't believe in him as it questioned, "Who are you trying to bluff? One phoenix had that much blood. How many phoenixes did you all murder to obtain such a big pool of blood? Or should it be said, after murdering the phoenix, then considered as donation?" Huang Zixiao shot him a glance filled with disdain as he sneered, "You think all phoenixes are suffering from dysplasia like you? To tell you the truth, a true matured phoenix, its wings extends to several thousand miles, and when it's soaring up into the sky, it's all ready to hide the sky and cover the earth, extremely overbearing. This is just a portion of the phoenix blood which was left by that phoenix, a large portion of it is stored away in God Realm's clan. If every phoenix were like you, would they even dare to be called as a spiritual beast? What difference are you from those mother hens who other people rear in their backyards? You've..." Little Wang Kai had thought that its questions were witty, but it had not expected to be looked down upon, and got so worked up that it almost fainted. Huang Yueli saw that both of them were not on the same page and deeply worried that they might start arguing again, so she caught Little Phoenix and threw him back into the Sky Phoenix ring. In this way, they weren't able to argue, but after Little Phoenix was confined, he was overturning the skies inside as he tried his hardest, hooting about in the Sky Phoenix ring, asking Huang Yueli to let him out immediately. "You can also listen on." Huang Yueli pretended not to hear anything as she turned around and asked Huang Zixiao, "Then, can I go into the water right now?" Huang Zixiao nodded. "You can soak yourself for however long you want to, but a person's body's absorption towards phoenix blood is limited. After you reach the limit, there wouldn't be any more effect for the time being, so by then, you can come out." Huang Yueli nodded. "I understand." Huang Zixiao turned around to leave, leaving her alone in the phoenix blood pool. Huang Yueli didn't waste any time as she directly took off her outer robe and jumped into the phoenix blood pool. She had originally braced herself that soaking in the phoenix blood would be especially terrible feeling. After all, the past few medicinal baths which she had soaked in were basically like that, the more the effect, the more difficult the process of the bath. But reality made her slightly surprised. Because phoenix blood was actually very mild, although the water temperature was very high, but it was still within the limits of an ordinary person. Huang Yueli sat within the pool and felt as though she had returned to an infant. That warm and sticky fluid enveloped her entire body. Following that, meticulous energy started to flow into her body through every pore in her body. Initially, she felt a little ticklish, but gradually, that slight feeling became more and more intense, each turning into pain, and furthermore, it was getting more and more painful. Even though she was in extreme pain, but Huang Yueli's consciousness was still extremely clear. Her skin continuously peeled off and continuously grew out, as though a phoenix rebirth, obtaining new life. This process was extremely long, and the intense tickling and pain repeatedly switched, as though there was no end. It had been after quite a long amount of time, when Huang Yueli felt the feeling of her body becoming numb, whereas the profound energy within her became strangely abundant, as it followed her meridians, gushing up continuously towards her dantian. The profound energy went round all the meridians in her body. Every time it went one round, it intensified by 1%. The layers piled up and accumulated in the dantian finally broke through the advancement checkpoint. 4th stage realm, 4th level. 4th stage realm, 5th level. 4th stage realm, 6th level. Huang Yueli could distinctly felt that the profound energy within her body becoming stronger and stronger, and that swelling feeling was about to crack open her dantian. Her advancement speed was very fast, and while she was still suffering from fuzzy consciousness, she had already advanced continuously for 3 small realms. After that, the profound energy within her meridians were still accumulating, but the speed seemed to have slowed down a little, and after another long period of time, she slowly stepped into 4th stage realm's 7th level. Right after this, the increasing speed of her profound energy had once again slowed down, slower and slower, slower and slower. Until finally, her profound energy almost stopped growing, but she was quite a distance from 4th stage realm 8 levels checkpoint. Huang Yueli suddenly opened her eyes as a cold glint flashed past her eyes. She felt that she should still have enough energy, and was still able to advance, and had not reached her limit, but why did she stop here? Suddenly, she thought of something and held out both her hands to get a handful of water, as she raised her head and sent it into her mouth. Phoenix blood followed her throat and flowed into her body, her lower abdomen, and instantly a scorching feeling was felt. Initially, the temperature was very low, just barely swelling up, but slowly, the energy from the phoenix blood was unleashed and her body became hotter and hotter. Ugh! Huang Yueli's forehead cringed tightly, as she couldn't help but gave a low moan. You can also listen on. Just as her body was about to be torn apart by that scorching hot sensation, phoenix blood's energy suddenly exploded, turning into shreds, entering her meridians. Huang Yueli felt an indescribable pain tormenting her 4 limbs and skeletal bones. Her meridians and skeletal bones seemed to be crushed inch by someone, then fixed together again inch by inch, repeatedly occurring. This pain was much more serious by 100 times than just purely soaking herself in the phoenix blood. However, Huang Yueli wasn't panic-stricken, instead a sliver of a smile appeared on her face. This went to show that the phoenix blood in her body changed it from inside to outside. As compared to from outside to inside, it was much more effective and much more dangerous. From the inner part of the body to reconstruct her meridians, furthermore such an intense method, if there was any accident, then her dantian would burst apart, leaving in a dire consequence. This was also the reason why Wang Zixiao only allowed her to soak in the phoenix blood and not drink it. Because the risk is simply too huge. As the spokesperson for Sacred Phoenix Race, Wang Zixiao didn't want the clan's top-rated heaven-grade genius to take this kind of risk. However, even though she knew that such a risk existed, Huang Yueli still drank the phoenix blood without any hesitation. Because no one knew her own condition better than herself. After experiencing various matters in the Inheritance Tower, she had already confirmed that this body's innate talent had exceeded everyone's imagination, simply to the point of heaven-defying. The phoenix blood was provocative yet intense, but she should be able to take it. As long as she had enough determination, she should be able to get over it. Although she had this confidence, but the process was extremely hard to endure. Huang Yueli laid in the phoenix blood pool semi-consciously. Her consciousness was sometimes clear, and sometimes blurry. After God knows how long later, she finally felt the intense pain within her body's inner portion gradually subsiding, and her meridians had been widened while the profound energy within had been compressed, causing it to become purer than before. At the same time, profound energy in the meridians flowed much quicker as it started rushing towards her dantian. 4th stage realm, 8th level. This checkpoint had been passed by easily. Profound energy continued to flow, as the speed became faster and faster. 4th stage realm, 9th level. Profound energy kept accumulating and very quickly, she reached the peak of 4th stage realm. Huang Yueli knew that, at this point in time, she must muster up all her strength to continue breaking through to 5th stage realm. There was a certain rate of success. But she didn't do that. Instead, she stopped the flow of her profound energy as she calmed her heart to congeal qi, as she started solidifying her own cultivation. Ever since she entered the Inheritance Tower, these days, she had continued to advance repeatedly. This kind of advancement speed was simply too fast, so fast that it was ridiculously perverted. In this way, her cultivation would become unstable easily as her foundation wasn't stable, then she would not be able to bring out the corresponding grade of potential which she should have. Furthermore, there was a possibility that it would affect her future cultivation speed. In the past, although her cultivation speed was fast, but she was after all a third-stage realm low-level practitioner, so no matter how unstable her foundation was, the influence wasn't that great. From the 4th stage realm peak to 5th stage realm, that was a huge realm promotion. You can also listen on. Such a short span of time, to continuously promote 2 large realms, no matter what, it was just too fast. Thinking of this, Huang Yueli coerced herself to stop absorbing the energy, but chose to continue staying in the phoenix blood pool to solidify her cultivation. After some time, Huang Yueli felt her own cultivation stabilizing, and since there was no more effect of phoenix blood to her, she sat there and felt no different as when she was soaking in an ordinary hot spring. Huang Yueli recalled that Huang Zixiao telling her that a person's body towards phoenix blood absorption was limited in a short period of time. Looked like even if she continued to soak in this, the effect wouldn't get any better. Thinking of this, Huang Yueli climbed out of the pool, as she clearly understood that it was now time for her to leave. But turning back to take a look at that pool of lustrous colors, phoenix blood which emitted a powerful presence of energy, Huang Yueli really couldn't move her feet. So much phoenix blood, and its effect was so good, but yet she could not take it away. Wait, perhaps it wasn't that she could not take it away. Huang Yueli's eyes shone as she opened up the sky phoenix ring. Little Phoenix had been throwing a tantrum for several days, wanting to come out. When it finally saw Huang Yueli opening the sky phoenix ring, it instantly got agitated as it pounced towards her. Female devil, you've finally found your conscience. Willing to let me go out and play already? Huang Yueli replied, Ugh. This going out to play can wait till slightly later. Help me get all the containers and tubs which can be used to contain stuff out. I must try all possibilities to save a little phoenix blood. Little Phoenix instantly deflated as it turned around and used its butt to face her. HMPF, you only know how to ask me to work and not feed me chicken drumsticks, not allowing me to go out and play too. I don't want to work for free. Forget it if you don't wish to help. Anyway, you're so fat, you don't have much energy, so I think you're probably not of any help anyway. Huang Yueli shot him a look of disdain as she held 2 bathtubs, running out to fill it with blood. Very quickly, phoenix blood filled all the wooden bathtubs in the sky phoenix ring and neatly lined up into a long straight line, right under the room's window sill. Huang Yueli nodded her head in satisfaction as she touched her chin, secretly planning, phoenix blood, a drop of it is priceless. There's so many tubs here, if I bring it out to auction. Wow, how much would it be worth? But she was also clear that the more priceless treasure was, the more it shouldn't be shown to others, otherwise, it wouldn't just be money which she would be getting, but also fatal disaster. Her experience in her past life was the best example. Even if she had absolute ability to crush everyone, but she would still meet with various kinds of harassment. Sigh, looks like selling it for money is not going to do, so I better keep it for myself. I wonder how long should I wait before using it for the second time. Right, when I return, I can let the handsome dude at home soak in it as well, and I can also see the good-looking man come out from his bath. Hee hee, the minute Huang Yueli recalled the last time she saw Li Moying's sturdy and firm chest and that vaguely visible 8-pack muscles, her senses started floating. Little Phoenix was propping up his chin as he watched her from the sides, and questioned out in curiosity, Female devil, why is your saliva dripping down? Have you dreamt of some good food? What flavored chicken drumstick is that? Huang Yueli touched the corners of her lips when she heard his question, and she really felt some dampness. Her face flushed red as she threw Little Phoenix into the sky phoenix ring. You can also listen on. What kinda lousy spiritual pet was it? It had no ability to make discerning judgments and still dared to ridicule its master. Continue to stay in confinement. Huang Yueli had just kept the phoenix blood and changed into a new set of clothes as she left the room. Huang Zixiao was just outside the door, waiting for her. Seeing Huang Yueli coming out, he looked at her from head to toe as he gave a surprised expression. You're finally out. You actually stayed in the phoenix blood pool for such a long time. I almost thought something happened to you. Now it looks like you've benefited a lot from this phoenix blood pool. From 4th stage realm 3rd level, you advanced to 4th stage peak. Huang Yueli smiled as she asked, why? Have I broken the record again? Huang Zixiao said, that isn't so. Phoenix blood strengthening effect differs on each individual. Some effects are especially good, even possible to leap over 2 large realms. But as your previous cultivation speed was slow, 14 or 15 years old and still have not advanced to 4th stage realm, so now you suddenly advanced so quickly, so that made me slightly surprised. Huang Yueli gave a dry cough. In the past I have not been cultivating properly. She didn't tell him about her cultivating for just 1 year, as instinct told her that this shocking matter would better be left as her ace. Huang Zixiao continued, now you know how good the Inheritance Tower's rewards are. Now that you've passed the 2nd stage of Heaven grade assessment perfectly, then when you reach 9th stage realm, you can come to the Inheritance Tower once again and accept the 3rd stage refinement. If your refinement succeeds, you'd obtain an even better reward. Of course, that includes the chance to enter the Phoenix blood pool again. Huang Yueli blinked, thinking to herself that she had already collected a huge pool of Phoenix blood in the Sky Phoenix ring, so she had a guilty conscience. She had already taken so much Phoenix blood, and whether she had the second chance to enter the Phoenix blood pool, it didn't seem that important now. Only this resourceful thinking, surely she wasn't the only one who had thought about it, right? Huang Yueli was puzzled, so she might as well have tried to probe to get the answer. Senior, earlier when I was in the Phoenix blood pool, you didn't keep an eye on me. Aren't you afraid that I'd steal some Phoenix blood? Huang Zixiao was stunned for a moment, then subsequently, as though he had heard an especially funny joke, he started laughing out loud. Ha ha ha. I say, young lass, aren't you thinking just a little too much? Actually, you could try to keep some Phoenix blood into your realm ring earlier. Then you'd know that this is practically impossible. Ah. Why? Huang Yueli went blank. Huang Zixiao replied, because Phoenix blood is an existence which is much higher than God relic, so ordinary realm rings practically aren't able to contain the pressure from the Phoenix blood, so it's caused the space to distort, thereby causing the realm ring to shatter directly. Want to put the Phoenix blood into a realm ring and bring it out? That's just a beautiful wish. Phoenix blood can only be stored in a higher leveled existence than a God relic. For example, this Inheritance Tower. Huang Yueli was stunned. So that's the case, I've gained more knowledge again. Although she said that, but her heartbeat was starting to speed up. Realm ring would directly shatter when it meets Phoenix blood. Some higher leveled existence than God relic could store the Phoenix blood. Then why had she easily stored the Phoenix blood into the Sky Phoenix ring? Linking it to her innate testing earlier, her profound energy was depleted, and the Sky Phoenix ring unleashed a gust of energy, helping her pass the difficult juncture. You can also listen on. Heavens, what kind of thing was the Sky Phoenix ring? She died in her past life because of the Sky Phoenix ring, so this wasn't strange at all. Huang Zixiao didn't notice the abnormality in her as he continued talking. Now do you understand? Young lass, your innate talent might be high, but after all you grew up in soaring heaven's continent, so your knowledge cannot be compared to the direct descendants in God realm. Inheritance Tower had some books which came from God realm, so now it should be lost in soaring heaven's continents, right? Later on, get some books and go back to read it, in case if you ascend to God realm in future, you'd be a laughing stock. Huang Yueli nodded and suddenly thought of something, as she asked excitedly, "That's right, Senior, do you have any books here related to armament refining?" Armament refining? Why are you asking about this? Are you an armament master? Huang Zixiao's eyebrow rose. Huang Yueli nodded. Huang Zixiao didn't find it strange at all. Sacred Phoenix race was a fire-attributed clan, whereas pill refining and armament refining all required high fire-attributed innate talents to achieve some accomplishments, so there were many high-leveled armament masters and pill masters in Sacred Phoenix race. And this was one of the reasons why the Sacred Phoenix race could stay strong for so many years. But he advised, there are many books on armament refining and the Inheritance Tower has quite a few. Since there are few who can come to the Inheritance Tower, I shall give all these books to you. But although armament refining is broad and deep, but your cultivation innate talent is much better. You have a boundless future in front of you, so don't waste too much energy on armament refining, this kind of sideline. Pay more attention to your cultivation, and just dabble a little on armament refining. Huang Yueli nodded as she replied, "All right, I understand." She knew that Huang Zixiao had his logic. Mu Qingying in his past life said similar things, so he never bothered wasting any time to research on these skills. But armament refining was Huang Yueli's interest and was something which she loved doing the most. She wouldn't bear to give it up. Both of them talked for a while, and Huang Yueli found out quite a number of information regarding the Sacred Phoenix race from Huang Zixiao. Huang Zixiao probably hadn't met any living humans for a long time, so when they were chatting, he told her everything he knew and couldn't stop talking, as he also told her a lot of gossips regarding the God realm. On seeing that it wasn't early anymore, Huang Yueli said, "Senior, this time I'm really grateful for your help. But I have something which I need to settle outside the Inheritance Tower, so I'm afraid that I won't be able to stay here any longer. I wish to leave earlier." Huang Zixiao shook his head, "You can't leave now." "Why? Didn't you take a careful look at the contents when you got the treasure map? As the density of the profound qi in soaring heaven's continent is too low, the Inheritance Tower doesn't have enough energy, so it has always been in an invisible mode. Every 49 days would it appear in the continent once. And only when the Inheritance Tower appears would you be able to leave." Huang Zixiao explained. Huang Yueli immediately showed her disappointment. "Huh? How can it be like this? Don't tell me that I need to wait for another 10 over days." Huang Zixiao took a look at her. 10 over days. Don't need to wait that long, just another 2 days, and you'd be able to leave the day after. Huang Yueli was stunned. "Oh. But didn't you say this earlier, that the Inheritance Tower would only appear every 49 days? Wait a minute, don't tell that I've already stayed in the tower for 40 over days already. You can also listen on." Huang Zixiao laughed as he continued, "Why? Did you just realize? When you just entered the Inheritance Tower, you were in lethargic sleep for 5 to 6 days due to being heavily injured, and while passing the second round of refinement, you spent another 8 to 9 days. Later on in the Phoenix Blood Pool, you spent another 30 over days, so adding it all up, it's already been 47 days. Huang Yueli's elegant brows creased tightly, as she expressed an anxious look. "I've actually spent so much time. And I had no feeling at all. By the time I go out, wouldn't everything be in chaos?" She suddenly disappeared and had not appeared for more than 40 days. This matter should have gone to Li Moying's ears by now. She wondered if he would be anxious over her. She thought, that must be the case. Because that man, no matter in the past life or not, had never changed. Even if she rejected him numerous times, but he had never remained indifferent towards her matters. As long as she's in danger or something happened to her, he would always be the first to be there. that day she left Celestial Light Academy in a hurry, leaving alone by herself, was so that she would undo the misunderstanding between the both of them, but not to make him anxious. Huang Zixiao saw her ever-changing expressions as his lips slowly curled into a smile. Why? Look at your anxious look. It's normal for a practitioner going into closed-door cultivation to take several years. You've just gone missing for a month and already so worried to this state. Is there a need? What major thing has happened outside that requires a young lass like you to go and settle? Ah. About that, Huang Yueli bit her lips. Huang Zixiao felt that his guess was correct, anxious to go meet your lover. Huang Yueli's face flushed red upon hearing his correct guess. WH. What lover? He's just a friend. A living person like me disappearing into thin air, a lot of friends would be worried for me. Huang Zixiao sniggered, don't attempt to lie to an elderly, after all, I've lived longer than you for 10,000 years. I've seen plenty of love-smitten young lass like you. What kind of person do you like? How is his innate talent? Since he had already guessed correctly, Huang Yueli didn't try to hide any further as she replied, he's very handsome, very strong and treats me real well. Huang Zixiao replied, strong is a must, otherwise would a heaven-grade genius like you even consider him? But, don't blame me for not reminding you. Whether he's strong now or not, it doesn't matter. The crux is his innate talent cannot be too lousy. You're probably not clear, but a heaven-grade genius like you who appears once every 10,000 years, in the future when you go to God Realm, the clan would absolutely arrange a suitable partner for you, not wishing that you marry into other clans. If the person whom you like has powerful innate talent, perhaps the sacred phoenix race will be willing to let him marry into the family, but if your innate talent's disparity is too far apart, then you'd be separated in the end. Huang Yueli blinked, not believing that she had heard such things. It seemed that ever since she had been reborn, everyone kept saying that she wasn't worthy of Li Moying, so this was the first time she heard anyone saying Li Moying wasn't worthy of her. Furthermore, he said if he had the innate talent then there'd be hopes for him to marry into the family. It was unimaginable for such an arrogant man like Li Moying to marry into the family. Thinking of this, Huang Yueli's mind suddenly popped out an image of Li Moying following behind her, like her little wife, as she couldn't help but burst out laughing. Huang Zixiao saw that she actually laughed, and felt that she totally didn't sense the seriousness of this problem. You can also listen on. Don't think I'm cracking a joke. The clans in God Realm all look upon innate talent as the most important factor. Huang Yueli smiled as she said, Senior, thank you for reminding me. But the person I like had much higher innate talent than me. I feel that we're very compatible, so no one should even consider tearing us apart. Don't say Li Moying's innate talent was much higher than hers, even if it was lower than hers, she would not possibly separate from him because of this. Whether the clan agreed or not, she did not care, at most they won't go to God Realm. You, sigh, youngsters, Huang Zixiao sighed. He didn't believe in Huang Yueli's words because based on the current condition in Soaring Heaven's continent, to appear a heaven-grade genius like her was already an unbelievable thing. How would there be a man who had a better innate talent than her? To tell the truth, he felt that beauty was in the eyes of the beholder, and Huang Yueli had valued this man too much. That man probably had a much better innate talent than ordinary practitioners, but at most he'd only be Earth grade. No, not to mention Earth grade, if he could reach the forefront position of human grade, it would already be an achievement. But, now that this young lass was head over heels for him, no matter what he said wouldn't be of any use. When the days went by, once their cultivation distance was pulled apart, then she would naturally understood. Huang Zixiao didn't continue talking, but brought Huang Yueli to the Inheritance Tower's ancient books chamber. Seeing the bookshelves being neatly arranged into rows and rows of God-grade ancient books which were only available in God Realm, Huang Yueli got excited as she completely threw the earlier conversation behind her and concentrated on selecting the secret manuals. But Huang Zixiao had agreed upon something in advance. Sacred Phoenix race had their own regulations. She could only pick 3 books for cultivation methods and profound skills related to cultivation. But since there were much lesser people who wanted armament refining books, as she was a heaven-grade genius, he allowed her to select more books from there. The next 2 days, Huang Yueli spent all her time in the ancient books chamber. As she already had a top-rated 9 Phoenix transformation cultivation method, so the 3 ancient books which she selected was all on profound skill, a book on attack, a book on defense and a book to increase her attack speed, including the bodywork's profound skill which she obtained in the 6th story of the refinement. If she managed to master them all, then her all-rounder potential would be lifted up to a different plate. Besides that, she selected another 5 ancient books related to armament refining. It wasn't that she didn't want to take any more, but it was because she couldn't understand most of the portions. God Realm's armament refining ancient books were all used to refine God relics. Her current attainment still wasn't there yet, so there were still many places which she needed to raise up. Other than that, before she left, Huang Zixiao also passed her that guide to rearing a phoenix, which he had promised earlier. Little Phoenix was watching by the side and was so anxious that it started stomping its feet, attempting to use its sharp beak to tear the pages. Luckily Huang Yueli managed to evade in time. She threw Little Phoenix back to the Sky Phoenix ring before retrieving the book to take a look. Suitable food to feed phoenixes: fire-attributed spiritual grass, fire-attributed magical beast cores, little amount of fire-attributed magical beast meat. Try to cook it lightly, avoid feeding different attributed magical beasts meat, ordinary meat, no frying or roasting. Alright, I'm in the wrong. I shouldn't have given Wang Kai roasted chicken drumsticks. In order to let your infant phoenix grow up healthily, you must make it fly for 100 miles and above daily, and at the same time, under a dense fire-attributed environment, cultivate for 6 hours daily. Wang Kai seemed to have never cultivated before. Huang Yueli was flipping the book in her hands, and she muttered to herself while repenting. You can also listen on. Sigh, it's all my fault, affecting Wang Kai's growth. I will correct this and have stricter demands towards him. Little Phoenix shared her sentiments, so although it was shut in the Sky Phoenix ring, it could still hear her words. Momentarily, he was so anxious that he almost cried. Finished, it's all finished this time. His good days were coming to an end. No more roasted chicken drumsticks, and he had to fly 100 miles daily and cultivate for 6 hours. Oh my heavens! Torturing a phoenix. Boo-hoo-hoo, no. Female devil, I don't want to be separated from my chicken drumsticks. Don't treat me in this way, I promise to be obedient in future. Little Phoenix's wailing that sounded like ghosts and that howling that sounded like wolves were totally ignored by that heartless female master of his. Huang Yueli kept all the secret manuals properly, and looking at the time, it was already the 49th night, so she bade Huang Zixiao farewell as she left the inheritance tower. Huang Zixiao stared blankly into space after she departed as he felt deeply moved. This kind of heaven-grade genius, not born in God Realm's direct descendant, but born here in the abandoned soaring heavens continent. He started pondering about the final outcome. How would it turn out? A gold light flashed in front of Huang Yueli's eyes and the scenery changed. It was no longer the inheritance tower's never-changing decor, but she was now in the inner portion of the huge stone array once again. Ah! Finally out at last. Huang Yueli stretched her body as an excited smile spread on her face. I've been in that inheritance tower for so long, every day just staying in that small room, I'm almost going to be bored to death. It's really hard on Huang Zixiao's senior uncle, he could actually stay there for more than 10,000 years. So pitiful. Saying that, she seemed to have thought of something. Forgot to ask Senior why was he sealed within the inheritance tower. Next time we meet, I must ask him why, perhaps there might be a chance to let him out. I feel that it's impossible that anyone wants to be stuck in that broken tower, right? This time she was inside the inheritance tower for over a month and the benefits she reaped was simply huge. But now wasn't the right time to reminisce and sort it out. She had better hurry over to Celestial Light Sect to meet Li Moying first. She wondered if Li Moying had already gotten news of her disappearance. No matter what, she had to hurry and meet him first. As Huang Yueli was letting her imagination run wild, at the same time, she retrieved the treasure map from the Sky Phoenix ring. Ha, found it. With this treasure map, I don't need to let out my blood anymore. She lowered her head and read the map, and she strode towards the huge stone array's entrance. But just at this moment, she heard a gust of broken air coming from her back. Huang Yueli immediately reacted and turned sideways to evade. Turning back, she saw a man with disheveled hair, filled with blood and mud, half sprawling on the ground, as he bore his fangs at her sinisterly. Huang Yueli was stunned for a moment before she responded, You are Ling Wenbin. Ling Wenbin's current outlook couldn't be described with just a mere miserable word. Both of his legs, from knee down, were completely cut off. That should be the consequence from trying to rush into Inheritance Tower previously. So at this moment, he could only use his palms to support himself on the ground. As he moved, that look totally hid the saintly demeanor that he had in the past as Celestial Light Academy's vice principal. Besides that, Huang Yueli also discovered that Ling Wenbin's cultivation had dropped down by a huge notch. From 7th stage realm 2nd level, it dropped directly to 6th stage realm 2nd level, dropping by an entire large realm. You can also listen on. It looked like he had suffered heavy losses during the battle at the Inheritance Tower's entrance. The look which Ling Wenbin gave Huang Yueli was filled with malicious hatred. Little slut, how dare you still come out? It's all your fault, you caused me to turn out like this. I will absolutely not let you off, prepare to die. As Ling Wenbin talked, he circulated all the profound energy within his body, as he launched his attack towards Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli utilized the agility dance steps which she just learnt, and easily evades his attack, and she gave a light smile as she turned her head. I say, Vice Principal Ling, I really didn't expect it that you are still alive. I thought that since you suffered such a serious injury, you should have died long ago. Even if you didn't die, it has been 49 days since then, so you must have died of hunger. Although she was smiling as she said that, but the words which spewed out were filled with viciousness. Ling Wenbin's brows twitched, as he recalled his experience in the past few weeks and he almost went insane on the spot. When he grabbed Huang Yueli at that time, he thought that victory was within his grasp, to be able to enter this early historical remains and monopolize the treasures inside. Perhaps he might experience a reversal of fortune and become Soaring Heaven's continent's top-rated expert. At the very least, he would be able to make a small fortune. For a practitioner who is at this age, this probably was his lifetime's last huge opportunity. Whoever knew that, just as he was about to attain victory, at the last juncture, Huang Yueli managed to turn the situation around. Not only wasn't he able to enter the Inheritance Tower, both his legs were also cut off and furthermore, he suffered from the attacks of the external mechanisms outside the Inheritance Tower and he was heavily injured. Although he managed to save his life, but his cultivation had then dropped drastically by a large realm. Plus the fact that his 2 legs were crippled, he was considered as ruined. Ling Wenbin was scared and had thought of escaping, but the minute he reached the huge stone array, he discovered that the treasure map in his hands had been snatched away by Huang Yueli, so he had no way to get out of the huge stone array. This round, he was completely trapped here, no way to enter the high tower, and no way to leave. When he thought of the possibility that he might be confined in this place forever, or even becoming like skeletons like those ancient people in the huge stone array, to die of starvation alive, Ling Wenbin felt exceptionally desperate. Right now, he really had unspeakable regret. If he knew earlier, he would absolutely not covet the things which Bai Lu Feng left behind. Now, not only was he not able to gain a fortune, instead he became a half-dead cripple, not able to go anywhere at all. However, even if he had reached this step, Ling Wenbin wasn't resigned to die just yet, so using the last bit of food and water in his interspatial ring, he lasted till now. His heart still had a sliver of hope, although Huang Yueli entered the high tower, but if she didn't die, she would have to come out sooner or later. If he could last till Huang Yueli came out, killed her and snatched all the treasures and treasure map from her, then not only would he be able to take his revenge, he would still be able to gain the treasures from the inheritance tower. Ling Wenbin waited and waited for so many days that he himself wasn't sure of how long he had waited anymore. Just as his interspatial ring's food was about to be finished and he was going to become dry immediately, the bronze door to the inheritance tower suddenly flashed a golden ray. Huang Yueli was finally going to appear. Words could not be used to describe Ling Wenbin's joy and hatred. The only wish he had on his mind was for this little slut to die immediately. Furthermore, he wanted her to die a terrible and painful death. Then take all the treasures on her for himself. You can also listen on. Ling Wenbin stared intently on Huang Yueli as he gave an eerie laugh. Little slut, stop struggling. Do you think that saying a few words would distract me? Let me tell you, I'll absolutely not let you off today, and I will make you die pitifully. Oh, no, perhaps I should kill you. I should cut your legs off, and snatch away all your treasures, then tie you here to let you die of starvation. Ha ha ha. His laughter was especially terrifying. If anyone were to see him, they would probably feel that they had just seen a living ghost, or probably even more terrifying than a ghost. However, Huang Yueli merely shrugged her shoulders and there wasn't much changes in her expression. You're already so old, why do you say such vicious things? But since you're pretty pitiful, you want to die but not able to, it's just inhumane. I shall do a good deed and send you off. Looking for death. Ling Wenbin originally wanted to admire Huang Yueli's hopeless expression, but things didn't go according to his wish. He was so angry that he almost went insane, and he wasn't able to tolerate much further as he used all the profound energy in his entire body, throwing all his killer moves towards Huang Yueli. Huang Yueli calmly evaded his attacks easily, as a surging fire attributed profound energy was unleashed, directly charging towards Ling Wenbin. The present her, as compared to when she just entered the huge stone array, was no longer the same. From 3rd stage realm peak, to the current 4th stage realm peak, she had completed the crossover to a large realm. Not only so, after the process of cleansing her meridians and widening her arteries, her physical body's toughness was now something which ordinary practitioners could not imagine. At the same time, her speed, strength, endurance and defense powers had also raised significantly. Even the profound energy which gathered in her meridians and the speed of recovery had all increased by several times as compared to previously. Furthermore, she had just advanced successfully, and her drive was flourishing. Her entire body's profound energy was pure and dense, as though it was about to flow out in abundance. Not only that, this huge stone array was the spirit-gathering array which the sacred phoenix race specially set up, and the fire-attributed profound energy inside was the most abundant. With the various elements adding up, when Huang Yueli struck, although it was just a fire ray flacing, but within 2 breaths' time, it had already rose into an eye-catching sea of fire. The raging flames occupied Ling Wenbin's entire view, as it covered the sky and earth, mountainous waves overturning the sea. Such powerful presence made Ling Wenbin totally stunned, unable to respond. He knew that he should evade, but under such oppression, he felt that he wasn't facing Huang Yueli, but a 9th stage realm top expert. There was no leeway and hope to struggle. It was until the fire sea had burnt his body when Ling Wenbin finally gave a terrifying shrill. No! Impossible! How could this be? He couldn't understood why, and couldn't possibly be resigned to it. How was it that when he faced Huang Yueli, he didn't have any single bit of resistance at all? It was clear that when the both of them entered the huge stone array, Huang Yueli could only escape right in front of him, and finally when she fell into his clutches, this lass's ability against his was like heaven and earth. Although later on he suffered heavy injuries, but a dead starved camel was still bigger than a horse. His cultivation was still at 6th stage realm, as compared to the 3rd stage realm Huang Yueli, he still had an overwhelming advantage. Even if Huang Yueli had obtained more treasures in the tower, but surely it wasn't possible for her to gain the potential to defeat him in just slightly over a month. How could it be possible for him to be defeated in the hands of this wretched lass? You can also listen on. But no matter how Ling Wenbin struggled, and how he questioned, it was an unchangeable end for him. The last scene he saw was the blustering surge of fire sea, with waves covering the sky and earth. Later on, no one knew what happened. Huang Yueli didn't bother to check on Ling Wenbin's fate. That old fellow had done many evil deeds, he was doomed to die, so she had nothing to do with him anymore. She followed the indications on the treasure map, and successfully left the huge stone array. Soaring Heaven's continent was presently in the middle of the serene night. Huang Yueli raised her head high up as she gazed at the stars in the sky, and using the stars, she distinguished her current location. Without further delays, she set off towards Celestial Light Sect's direction. Not a sound was heard. In a small town just a short distance of less than 5 miles from the Inheritance Tower, inside an inn. Li Moying was sitting in front of the bed, a wine cup in his hands, as he raised his head to look at the pitch-black sky. It had already been over a month since Huang Yueli's disappearance. He had mobilized every single person he had on his hands, searched all the places surrounding Celestial Light Sect and even sent someone to search along the way back to South Yu Kingdom, but he had yet to find any real clues. For a while, Li Moying had even suspected if it was Liu Bian who had secretly saved Huang Yueli. Hence he intentionally sent someone to follow Liu Bian, but discovered that he had just found out about Huang Yueli's disappearance and was searching for her too. Huang Yueli seemed to be like a fog, blown away by the wind, as she dissipated under the sun, disappearing without a trace. Li Moying's feelings had first started from being anxious, infuriated, frustrated, changing into the current deep obsessiveness. Lear, where on earth are you? Why is it that you've met with danger, but had not come to look for me to protect you? Or, have you already been saved by someone? No matter what, no matter how long it has been, I will never give up. I believe that you're not dead. You must be somewhere, waiting for me. Li Moying silently raised his wine cup, as he put it into his mouth and downed it in one gulp. Whereas not too far away, on the other side of the corridor, the shadow guards exchanged looks, and all they could see from one another's eyes were a deep sense of worry. Among them, the only one who was missing was Moe. Now it was Moe who was leading them, and all their gazes fell onto him at the same time. Moe alertly shrugged his shoulders, as he lowered his voice. Why are you all looking at me for? Second brother, you know, the full moon's night is coming again. Sweat immediately formed on Moe's forehead. Of course I know, in another 7 days it will be full moon. But even if you all looked at me, I don't know what to do as well. Last time brother Moe colluded with Principal Jiang, and both of them weaved a lie to cheat Master back to the sect. After Master's illness recovered, he flew into a huge rage. If it hadn't been for the fact that eldest brother had followed him loyally for many years, his life would probably be lost by now. I'm a coward, I don't dare to imitate eldest brother. But, second brother, how can we go on like this? Master had spent the entire time searching for third miss, under the conditions of neglecting sleep and food every single day. If his illness were to act up under these conditions, it would be very severe. If he's not in the sect, won't it be very difficult to control? Do you think I don't know that? But now, to make Master agree to return would be either he himself come round to it, third miss showing herself and we managed to find her. Mo replied. Master's feelings towards third miss really runs deep. You can also listen on. Isn't that so? Previously someone were guessing that Master despised third miss for her background and separated with her, in order to marry the sect Master's daughter. You all don't know how many people are spreading such things within the sect, as though they've seen it with their own eyes. We should really make them come over and take a look personally. Alright, stop talking about all these, the current problem is still. How can we make Master return to the sect before full moon's night? The topic was pulled right back, so everyone entered a state of silence once again. Just at this moment, from afar, Li Moying's cold voice was heard. Mo shivered all over, but not daring to waste any time, he immediately ran over and bowed. Master, your instructions please. Moying put down his wine cup, and replied in a low voice, continue searching around the area for the next 3 days. 3 days later, if there's still no news of Lear, then prepare to return to Celestial Light Sect. Mo suddenly went into a blank. He really didn't expect Li Moying to be so cooperative, spontaneously suggesting to return to Celestial Light Sect. They, Shadow Guards, were still worried, and afraid that Li Moying would not care about his own life because of Huang Yueli. Li Moying noticed his expression and explained in a rare occasion, Lear has not been found, so I cannot go down like that. From the looks of the current situation, it would be a difficult feat to find her and may spend a lot of time, so I have to keep my life so that I can protect her. Moreover, Lear said this before, wishing for me to take good care of myself, I cannot not listen to her. Mo heard his words, as his feelings got even more complicated. On one hand, he was filled with joy, yet on the other, he was filled with worry. The joyous part was, Li Moying finally knew how to take care of his own body, at least he wouldn't ignore his soul detachment illness, putting his life at stake or taking it as a joke. But what made Mo worried was, Li Moying still kept talking about Lear whenever he opened his mouth. For his feelings to run so deep, if something really happened to third miss. Mo simply didn't dare to continue thinking along that line. He hurriedly lowered his head and responded, Master, please be assured, even if you return to Celestial Light Sect to recuperate, the rest of us will do our best to search for her and absolutely not delay Master's matters. Li Moying nodded, as he was just about to say something. Just at this moment, a blinding light flashed from outside the window, as though a lightning had descended from the sky, but in a flash, it disappeared without a trace. Li Moying frowned. What was that? Mo was stunned momentarily, as he replied, I have no idea. But some time ago while searching this place, we've heard some villagers mention that they often came across the mysterious lightning. Sometimes it would also occur in daytime and many people said, this was Thunder God's punishment. The villagers do not dare to go to the wilderness during night time. Li Moying frowned as he went into deep thoughts, when suddenly he stood up and walked out of the door. Get Mo-san and Mo-si along, go out with me. Mo hurriedly followed, Master, where are we going? I feel that the flash of light has a problem, it didn't look like lightning, but it seemed like, what? Li Moying didn't continue speaking, but only hurried his footsteps. An hour later, Li Moying and his shadow guards arrived at the nearby wilderness. This position was the exact position where the flash of light had appeared and was the position of the inheritance tower as it appeared every 49 days. Only, unfortunately, he came too late. You can also listen on. Now, the inheritance tower had once again disappeared in the void space, whereas Huang Yueli didn't want it to delay any further, so she set off in the middle of the night, rushing toward Celestial Light Sect. Both directions were the exact opposite, so they didn't manage to meet up. Li Moying brought his men as they searched the wilderness for an entire round, but had not caught sights of anyone. But, after Moer surveyed one round, he suddenly started shouting in shock, "Look, there's a hairpiece here." Li Moying immediately moved, as he appeared by his side, and his vision fell onto that hairpiece. He immediately recognized that this hairpiece was the one which Huang Yueli usually liked very much. When Li Moying had been staying with her in Celestial Light Academy, he practically saw her wearing it daily. Could it be that Li really appeared nearby this place? Li Moying gripped hard on that hairpiece, as his frown grew tighter. Huang Yueli totally wasn't aware that because she had ran too fast, she actually missed Li Moying. If she knew this earlier, she would absolutely wait there obediently, for him to pick her up. Alas, even 1,000 gold was unable to buy something foreseeable. The second morning, Huang Yueli arrived at the small town in front. Now in the nearby towns, Li Moying's men were stationed there searching for her. But as Huang Yueli didn't know what they were up to, only feeling that the search was tense and the atmosphere was extremely fishy, so in order to avoid trouble, she intentionally avoided those disorderly towns and picked the smaller routes to proceed. 3 days later, she successfully arrived at Celestial Light Sect's front mountain. Celestial Light Sect was indeed the South Sky region's #1 sect. From the looks of the front mountain's main entrance, it looked extremely majestic and imposing, and there were many disciples wearing the sect's uniform which bore the logo walking around keeping surveillance. Other than the sect's disciples, outsiders were completely not allowed in. A young boy who wanted to formally become an apprentice to a master was pleading hard, but he was being bluntly kicked out. Huang Yueli stopped at a distance around 1 mile or so before the sect, pondering how she could explain her identity to the guards around the entrance. If she claimed that she was their young sect master's fiancée, would they believe in it? Or should she find another reason which would allow her to meet Li Moying easily? Just as she was in deep thoughts, suddenly a luxurious carriage helmed by 8 dark green-maned snow horses speeded from afar, as it stopped at the sect's main entrance. The door curtain opened, and an exceptional beauty walked down from the carriage. This person, to Huang Yueli, was not a stranger at all. She was Murong Fei. The minute Huang Yueli saw her, she subconsciously drew back her head, and hid behind a large rock nearby, not wanting to let her see herself. But she had already expanded her soul trace, putting in all her concentration, trying to hear when she was going to leave. Murong Fei got off the carriage and all the guards went up to welcome her. "Eldest young miss, you're back. Welcome eldest young Mrs. Return to the sect." Murong Fei bore a noble demeanor from a wealthy family, as the smile which hung on her lips was faint yet reserved, as she nodded towards everyone. Just as she was about to enter the entrance, she suddenly stopped and called out to a guard. This junior brother. The guard's face immediately flushed red, as he displayed an overwhelmed by favor from superior look. "Yes. Eldest young miss, are you calling me?" Murong Fei nodded and asked, "Has eldest senior brother returned back during these days when I'm out?" The guard shook his head, replying, "Eldest young miss, young sect master has not returned for close to a month." You can also listen on. Murong Fei's expression turned slightly ugly then, as her sharp manicured nails almost dug into her own palms. Luckily, she recalled that she was still at the front mountain and under everyone's sights. She had to maintain her dainty and noble image. She forcefully suppressed the rage and sour feeling in her heart as she asked again, "That means, ever since the last full moon's night, eldest senior brother went out and have not returned?" "Yes," the guard replied. Murong Fei nodded. "All right, I've got it. Well, if eldest senior brother returns, please look for me immediately. Eldest young miss, please be assured, I guarantee that I will complete this mission. Huang Yueli secretly heard their conversation and couldn't help but frown. She had not expected that Li Moying was not in the sect. Why did he go out for? Surely it wasn't to search for her, right? Then what should she do now? Where should she go and find him? Furthermore, if Li Moying wasn't here, she probably had no way to convince the entrance guards and would not be able to enter Celestial Light sect. Probably she would be chased out immediately, just like that young boy who was trying to become an apprentice. Just as she was still considering, Murong Fei already walked into the sect. As she was walking, she lowered her volume as she talked to the people beside her. Even though she had already intentionally suppressed her volume, but after soaking in Phoenix's blood, Huang Yueli's 5 senses became exceptionally agile, which was something that ordinary practitioners could not imagine, and she faintly heard what the duo's conversation. Damn it, you trash should all die. Haven't I instructed you to not spare any effort to find that wretched slut before eldest senior brother? Why is it that such a long time has already passed and there are no clues at all? Then what's the point for me to feed you bunch of trash, for nothing? Murong Fei was just walking into the sect, and on seeing that there's no one around, she couldn't help but acted up. Her few bodyguards lowered their heads, not daring to look at this eldest young miss who acted like a gentlewoman in front of others but an unruly woman behind. Eldest young miss, please listen to our explanation. We have already tried our best to search for her. But the young sect master brought out all his shadow guards to search as well. We must avoid his men, so we could only act in secret. Otherwise, if young sect master finds out our whereabouts and starts to suspect eldest young miss, then that would really be great trouble. Excuses. All these are excuses. Haven't I told you this already? The person who is trying to assassinate Bai Ruoli is Celestial Light Academy's Vice Principal Ling Wenbin. Eldest senior brother doesn't know how to find him, but I have a secret code with Ling Wenbin. You all know this secret code, but still unable to find them. When Huang Yueli heard these, her entire person was in shock. From Murong Fei's words, she had already understood that Li Moying was not in Celestial Light sect, because he knew about her disappearance, and ran out to search for her. Furthermore, he had already been searching for more than a month. Not only that, Ling Wenbin assassinating her, indeed was linked to Murong Fei, who had collaborated with him beforehand. Murong Fei was the mastermind who wanted to secretly kill her. Her bodyguards hurriedly tried to explain, eldest young miss, this is a huge grievance. We had already followed according to the secret code that you've given us, and tried ways and means to contact him in all channels, but Vice Principal Ling didn't appear at all. Surely something shouldn't have happened to him, right? Murong Fei immediately gave a cold harumph. Accident? What accident could there be? You can also listen on. Do you think that Ling Wenbin belongs to the same kind of trash as you? He is a genuine 7th stage realm practitioner who had been established for a long time. The opponent he is assassinating is a mere 3rd stage realm peak practitioner. Will he not be able to deal with her? That little slut with the surname Bai can't even defeat me and only knew how to hide behind eldest senior brother's back, pretending to be weak. This time eldest senior brother doesn't bother about her. What else can she come out with? It's impossible for her to escape. Murong Fei gritted her teeth as she said that. But, although her words were firm and her vow was solemn, but there was a faint restless feeling in her heart. Because although she used words to look down on Huang Yueli, despising her to dregs, but in her inner heart, she admitted that Huang Yueli indeed had some ability, and was very abnormal. Last time when she challenged her in Celestial Light Academy, not knowing what happened, her attack was actually rebounded, causing her to fall into a miserable state. This wretched lass was sinister and sly, perhaps. Ling Wenbin might have fallen into her trap by mistake, which wasn't an impossible matter to happen. But, no matter how Murong Fei thought, she would never guess that Ling Wenbin had already died under Huang Yueli's hands. In her view, or from any ordinary person's point of view, a 7th stage realm 2nd level pursuing a 3rd stage realm 9th level, there absolutely wasn't any other suspense. No matter how smart or tricky Huang Yueli was, the disparity between 4 huge realms was an unsurpassable heavenly moat. Under absolute potential, no schemes or tricks would be of use. The guards were worried that Murong Fei would fly into a rage on the spot and didn't dare to rebuke her, so they could only admit that they had failed to put in their best effort. Murong Fei clenched her teeth as she continued, "Now, gather more people to search. Search every single corner to find her. Even if you dig 3 meters underground, you have to find her. After you find her, execute her on the spot, and whoever can bring her head to find me, I guarantee that I will get my father to take him in as a direct disciple." The guards were originally disinclined and wanted to casually put up a show to pacify her, but upon hearing such a promise, everyone started to get excited. To become the sect master's direct disciple. This was the highest achievement which all celestial light sect disciples were chasing after in their entire life. Once they were taken in by sect master, that would be equivalent to a carp leaping to transform into a dragon. They would become the crowd's revered object instantly, there would be endless supply of high-leveled cultivation methods and pills, and they didn't need to be the guards for some young miss or young master and put in all their concentration on cultivating. Hearing that, the guards started patting their chests to guarantee that they would find Huang Yueli, and moreover thought of various ways to kill her. Murong Fei thought for a moment and said, "No, just based on the few of you, I'm not assured. That little slut, by Ruoli, had very high innate talent. Perhaps you're all not her match. How about this? I've already contacted the 4 elders and 2nd senior brother Li Lingchuan, and they have all agreed to help me. The minute you find by Ruoli's whereabouts, you must come look for me or those few elders and not alert her, so that we can take her down in one strike. And remove this trouble forever. Yes, eldest young miss, please be assured. This time round, even if this wretched lass has wings, she can stop dreaming of flying away." That's right, where did this country lass come from? Actually wanted to snatch eldest young Miss Man, can't even look at her own reflection, just based on her. Is she even worthy of our heroic and manly, suave and handsome young sect master? You can also listen on. Totally. Only eldest young miss, this kind of peerless beauty, has the right to stand next to young sect master. Eldest young miss, please be assured, we will definitely find that little slut. The guards were hollering loudly to express their loyalty as they left, filled with determination. A sinister glint flashed beneath Murong Fei's eyes, as she gritted her teeth and spat out, "Humph, by Ruoli, since you dare to go against me, then don't blame me for being vicious. As long as you die, one day, eldest senior brother will realize that I'm the one who treats him the best, the most passionate. Since you've already parted ways with eldest senior brother, then might as well cut it off cleanly. It'd be best if the both of you belonged to different worlds, so you better not appear for the rest of your life." Murong Fei clenched her fists as she turned and walked into the deep end of the sect. Following that, as the distance was just too far away, even if it was Huang Yueli, she could not hear any other things. That was when she finally showed herself from the big tree which she was hiding behind, and her slender brows rose slightly, feeling that this matter was a little hard to deal with. Murong Fei wanted her life, she wasn't surprised at all. Even the fact that Murong Fei colluded with Ling Wenbin, this was also within her expectations. But Huang Yueli had not expected Murong Fei to hate her so much. Besides that, she had already been very careful. She had mysteriously gone missing for more than a month, but Murong Fei still wanted her life so badly that she ordered her man to dig 3 meters underground to find her. Huang Yueli originally thought of finding an excuse to express her identity to the guards. Even if she could not meet Li Moying himself, but as long as she was able to see one of his shadow guards, she would be able to stay in Celestial Light sect openly, and someone would inform Li Moying of her when he's back. However, after she saw Murong Fei, she couldn't help but admitted that her initial thinking was just too simple. Li Moying had brought all his shadow guards away, so now there wasn't a single person whom she knew in the entire Celestial Light sect. Plus the fact that there was a Murong Fei who eyes covetously if she found out about her whereabouts. Huang Yueli wasn't afraid of Murong Fei taking a move against her personally. Ever since her advancement, Murong Fei was no longer her match. But such a large sect like Celestial Light sect, after all the concrete background runs deep, and every single elder were at least of 8th-stage realm cultivation. If she really fought with Murong Fei in Celestial Light sect, under the circumstances where Li Moying was not there to aid her, if Murong Fei were to find the elders for help, then her life would be in peril. No, there was no way she would take this kind of risk. But for her to leave like this, she didn't know where to look for Li Moying. Could it be that she had to wait at the entrance of Celestial Light sect daily, waiting for his return? But heavens knows when Li Moying would return. If he set his heart that if he couldn't find her, he would not return, then wouldn't she be waiting in vain? Just as Huang Yueli was at a loss, and she was indecisive, another burst of bustle was heard from Celestial Light sect's main entrance. Yet another carriage stopped at the mountain entrance. This carriage, as compared to the one which Murong Fei sat in, was obviously of much lower class, and the magical beast which was pulling the carriage was an ordinary first-tier magical beast. The cabin was very large, apparently there were many people who were seated inside. The carriage stopped, and a lot of people got off from the cabin. There were a total of 10 over people. Huang Yueli raised her head and was silently shocked, because these 10 people were people whom she had met before. They were all Celestial Light Academy students. You can also listen on. People like Yuan Xiu, Lu Ziju, and such top talents in Celestial Light Academy's martial arts stage, they were all present. And among these top experts, there were 2 whom she was extremely familiar with. Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang, these 2 had agreed to follow her. Celestial Light Academy's students who acknowledged her as master, were also among this crowd. Huang Yueli was pleasantly surprised because seeing the both of them meant that she had found her helpers. Although she had no idea why they had come to Celestial Light Academy, but they were connected by the blood pact, so it was impossible for them to betray her, so she definitely would be able to obtain their aid. Thinking of this, Huang Yueli retrieved a paper and pen from her sleeves and speedily wrote a note, then creasing it into a bundle, she sewed her finger and flicked it. The paper bundle flew silently and landed on Su Qing Yueli's bosom, then later bounced and coincidentally dropped into her sleeves. Su Qingyue had not noticed it initially, and it was only until she reached the place where she was staying before she found a note in her sleeve. Upon opening it up and taking a look, she almost jumped with joy from the shock, and not caring that her outer robe was not dressed properly yet, she ran to look for Yu Xinyang. Xinyang, Xinyang. Great news, Sister Li is not dead, she sent me a message. What? Yu Xinyang also hurriedly dashed out from his room. The both of them held on to the note, and looked at it against the light, and it was written, I'm near Celestial Light Sect, staying in the town's largest inn on the west side, 3rd room. Tonight at 12 o'clock, find a chance to come and look for me. Anonymous. Although it was stated as anonymous, but both of them recognized Huang Yueli's words. We must find a way to slip out and meet Sister Li. Su Qingyue said. Yu Xinyang appeared to be more cautious, but, wasn't it said that 3rd Mrs. whereabouts probably bode ill? Why would she suddenly appear at Celestial Light Sect? Could this be fake? Even if this is fake, for Sister Li, we have to take the risk and go over. Midnight that night, the night was quiet. Huang Yueli sat alone in the room, waiting for the both of them. Just after midnight, knocking sound was heard from the outside of her door. "Come in," Huang Yueli said in a low-pitched voice. Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang pushed the door open, and they were so agitated that they almost screamed out loudly. "Sisterly, it's you. It's really you. You're still alive." "Yes, third miss, we thought something happened to you, and we're all very worried." Huang Yueli asked curiously, "How did you know that something unfortunate happened to me?" "I remember that before I left, I told you all that I'm leaving just to settle something." Su Qingyue replied, "Sisterly, you don't know, when you just left, we indeed didn't realize that something was wrong. Just that Yu Xinyang once told me that the link between his and your blood pact seemed to become weaker than usual. We thought it was because the distance between you two were too far, so we didn't suspect anything. But, later on, after many days, you didn't appear. Instead, Senior Brotherly suddenly returned to the sect, bringing a lot of men along. From that day onwards, Principal Jiang sent his men to watch out for your whereabouts in the academy, and every single person in the academy was interrogated. As Xiaoyang and I are closer to you, we've been interrogated several times. It was then that we realized that you have mysteriously disappeared. Furthermore, Senior Brotherly is actually Celestial Light Sect's young sect master. You can also listen on." Yu Xinyang also chimed in, "That's right, when we heard that Senior Brotherly was actually young sect master, the entire academy bubbled up, because this news really made everyone surprised, totally shocked beyond words. Especially those people who are usually jealous of you, for example, Li Shuer, when she heard that your fiancé is Celestial Light Sect's young sect master, she was so scared till she fainted there and then." Su Qinghua smiled, as she continued, "When young sect master returned to the sect, weren't there quite a number of people who said that you were ditched by him, and was a pitiful, unlovable abandoned woman? That day when young sect master rushed into the academy in anxiety, his expression looked as though he was about to murder someone. TSK, no matter who saw that, would not misinterpret it wrongly, young sect master simply loves you to no end. Sisterly, you really made all of us envious, to think that you can control young sect master." Huang Yueli started to get a little embarrassed upon hearing what Su Qingyue said. When did I control him? It's all because he's a willing party. Moreover, what's wrong with young sect master? Don't say young sect master, even if it's Soaring Heaven's continent's #1 expert. If he wanted to be with me, then he'd have to treat me like his goddess. Originally, Huang Yueli and Li Moying's status was just too far apart. If it was another girl bearing the same status as Huang Yueli saying such things, one would definitely feel that she's overestimating herself. But hearing Huang Yueli said that, Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang just felt that it was a matter of fact. They understood Huang Yueli's innate talent, potential and knowledge the best, so naturally they knew that based on her own ability, even if it was in front of a large sect like Celestial Light Sect's young master, she would not make a fool of herself. On the contrary, only a man like Li Moying was worthy of Huang Yueli, to allow her to humble herself out of her own will, to be together with him. Su Qingyue smiled for a while, before her expression started to turn solemn. From the start, although we were all surprised, but hearing that young sect master had personally brought his men over, we felt that they probably would be able to find you quickly. But as time went by, you were not found. Xinyang and myself also joined in the search party, looking for you everywhere but still wasn't able to locate you. Many people guessed that something probably happened to you. Young sect master was said to fell very ill, so sad that he wished to die. As Su Qingyue was saying, she carefully checked on Huang Yueli's expression. Huang Yueli's brows were indeed tangled together. What she thought of was Li Moying's soul detachment illness. She wasn't by Li Moying's side, so when that man's illness acted up, he would definitely feel especially upset, plus the fact that he was so worried about her, under both elements crisscrossing, it might just drag his body down. Su Qingyue saw her worried look, and hurriedly persuaded, "Luckily, we heard that young sect master had regained conscious and is now out and about, looking for you. As long as he gets the news that you're safe and sound, I believe no matter how serious his illness is, it would be cured without the need for any medication." Huang Yueli heaved a deep sigh. "Let's hope so." Following that, she asked again, "What's the matter with the both of you? Why are you with Yuan Ziyu and the rest, appearing in Celestial Light sect?" Coming to this topic, Su Qingyue's face revealed a smile. "Sisterly, you didn't expect it, right? 10 days ago was Celestial Light sect's yearly examination date for selecting outer disciples among the core students. Yu Xinyang and myself took part in this examination, and we ran into luck, passing this round's examination and officially became Celestial Light sect's outer disciples. You can also listen on. Huang Yueli blinked her pretty eyes, as she appeared extremely surprised with joy. "Oh. So it's like this. Then this time I must really congratulate you both. I'd not expected that both your potentials to have such a huge improvement. I remember when I left, the both of you were still not core students. It's just barely been 2 months and you've already became Celestial Light sect's outer disciples. Looks like my foresight is indeed correct." Yu Xinyang was full of smiled, as he humbly replied, "Third miss, you're overpraising us. You know best what quality we are. If it wasn't because of the cultivation methods and profound skills which you've given us, and those pills which raises cultivation and cultivation speed, I'm afraid we'd not get to even become core students, not to mention the day to join Celestial Light sect." Huang Yueli smiled as she shook her head. "Even if I have given you the cultivation methods and pills, but if you didn't had enough power of comprehension to comprehend the cultivation methods, and didn't had enough determination to continue cultivation day and night, you wouldn't be able to achieve so much within such a short span of time. I believe in the both of you. As long as you can aid me properly, I still have plenty of better cultivation methods, profound armaments and pills. I will not treat you poorly." Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang exchanged glances, as their eyes were filled with joy. When Huang Yueli went missing, they were upset for quite a long time. Other than the relationship and feelings that they shared, they also felt that without Huang Yueli's aid, it was not possible for them to gain any higher achievement in the way of cultivation. They had not expected that Huang Yueli actually came back to life. There were hopes for their future. Su Qingyue hurriedly asked, "That's right, sisterly, I haven't had the time to ask, why did you go missing this time? Is it really like what the others were spreading, that you were being assassinated, and was heavily injured?" Huang Yueli kept silent for a moment, and briefly explained the scenario of her death pursuit by the assassinator. Of course, she didn't mention the matter regarding the inheritance tower, but only mentioned that Murong Fei and Ling Wenbin's colluding, trying to kill her during her way here. In the end, she managed to escape to a hidden place and hid herself as she recuperated. It was only after she recovered that she left that place, thinking to find Li Moying. The both of them were infuriated as they listened to her story, helping her berate Ling Wenbin and Murong Fei's shamelessness. Huang Yueli heard them for a while before she shook her head to cut them off. "Alright, the matter's already happened, so there's no meaning in saying too much. Anyway, Ling Wenbin is already dead, and as for Murong Fei, since she attempted to scheme against me like this, I'd personally take my revenge sooner or later. Absolutely will not let her off easily. Only, what's urgent now, is that I must find Li Moying as soon as possible, so what suggestions do you have towards this matter?" Su Qingyue thought for a moment and said, "Actually you need not specially look for young sect master. Because I heard from the others in the sect today mentioning that, young sect master had already confirmed, that he will return to Celestial Light sect 3 days later." Hearing that, Huang Yueli suddenly thought of this. 3 days later, seemed to be full moon's night. Yes, if Li Moying was still rational enough, he should know that no matter how anxious he was, he shouldn't be outside swaggering, and should return to the sect. That meant that she only needed to wait for him in Celestial Light sect. Wang Yueli nodded and said, "All right, I'll wait for him in Celestial Light sect. Do you have any way to help me get into Celestial Light sect?" Yu Xinyang showed a difficult expression as he advised, "Third miss, I feel that you better not take the risk to enter Celestial Light sect. What if Murong Fei found out, then you'd be in danger. You can also listen on." Huang Yueli shook her head and said, "No, if I'm not in Celestial Light sect, how would I be able to meet Li Moying the minute he's back? But I don't want to tear our faces apart with Murong Fei right now, so I have to go incognito. It'd be best if I can secretly infiltrate in. Do you have any idea?" This is not an easy feat. That's right, Celestial Light sect security is very tight and all the disciples can only enter based on their own identity tags. We also used tremendous strength before we managed to slip out secretly today. The two of them racked their brains for a moment, when Su Qingyue's eyes shone. "I've an idea." Huang Yueli looked at her in anticipation. "You have a way?" Su Qingyue nodded as she said, "Among the students who became outer disciples, there is a junior sister Yi Xiao. She's just slightly older than you, 16 this year, extremely talented, and among the students to become outer disciples this year, she's the youngest. But her luck isn't very good. Just a few days before reporting to the sect, she suddenly ran into chi deviation while cultivating, which led to her suffering from heavy internal injury. She wasn't able to get up from bed, so she had no way to report. According to Celestial Light sect's rules, if outer disciples were to get into an accident, their place would be preserved, and if she managed to report within a year, it will be counted. Junior sister Yi Xiao specially asked me to bring her identity tag along, to help her apply for leave from the sect's administrator." She raised her head and looked at Huang Yueli. "You can pretend to be junior sister Yi and assume her identity to smuggle in." Huang Yueli joyously nodded as she said, "This is a good idea, we shall do that." Su Qingyue paused, and suddenly said perplexedly, "But, in this way, we have to find a skilled artist who excels in disguise, to change your looks into junior sister Ye's looks. Because all the Celestial Light Academy students whom we came along with, all recognized junior sister Yi." Huang Yueli smiled when she heard that. "We don't need to trouble anyone, I myself is a master of disguises. Just tell me how does Yi Xiao looks like will do." Su Qingyue's eyes opened wide as she looked at her in disbelief. Yu Xinyang also bore a shocked expression on his face. The both of them were having the same thoughts. This Bai Ruoli is just too abnormal, wasn't it? Why was it that she knew everything? She was even proficient in disguise, what else did she not know about? As they didn't have Yi Xiao's portrait, and it was all based on Su Qingyue's verbal description, so Huang Yueli spent an entire night's effort before successfully changing her countenance to Yi Xiao's looks. The minute dawn broke, the trio headed back to Celestial Light sect. The disciple who was on guard duty took a look, and discovered that the three of them were wearing outer disciples' uniform, as a hint of disdain flashed past his eyes. "Who are you guys? Show me your identity tags quickly." The trio retrieved their identity tags and showed it to him. After the guard saw it, his eyes were filled with even more disdain. Outer disciples who had just joined yesterday were on Celestial Light sect's lowest level. Among the outer factotum they belonged to the lowest level, those kind where anyone could bully. He gave a cough as his tone turned extremely severe. "You few, how dare you? As an outer disciple, you actually left the sect late at night and had not returned for the entire night. Do you know that this is against the sect's regulations? Just your first day here and you already dare to defy the regulations. Do you still want to mingle around here? Which administrator's disciples do you belong to? You can also listen on. When Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang heard that, they couldn't help but shuddered. They actually knew that slipping out of the sect yesterday was against the sect's regulations, but in order to meet Huang Yueli, they couldn't not take this risk. Furthermore, they had planned to rush back throughout the night. Whoever knew that, not only have they spent the night outside, furthermore, they brought back Huang Yueli, an imitation who had dressed up in disguise. The two of them already had a guilty conscience, and after being sternly interrogated by the guard, they were both shocked and frightened, not knowing how to reply. If the news about the just joining Celestial Light sect and sent to the administrator for flouting the sect's regulations, they would be finished and perhaps, they might be thrown out of Celestial Light sect on the spot. Ruining their own future was still alright, but the plans which Huang Yueli made to smuggle into Celestial Light sect would immediately fail. This senior brother, please be appeased, senior brother, it's our fault, please give us another chance. Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang exchanged glances, as she hurriedly pleaded for mercy. The guard remained unmoved. Why? Now you know you're in the wrong. Pleading me for mercy. When you slipped out, why didn't you think of the consequences? I'm telling you, it's too late. Sect master is just too nice, to actually take you trash in from those small places. Strength, you don't have, potential, you don't have too, and can't even understand regulations, the guard went on and on berating them. Apparently, he could find superiority from them. Those practitioners who were in charge of guarding the main entrance were all outer disciples. Although this was one of the better outer factotum jobs, but no matter what, they were still outer disciples. Usually they were often bullied or despised by those inner disciples of direct disciples who happened to walk past, so even if the other party was being unreasonable, but in the end when the sect master or elders casted condemnation, the first to get punished would always be these guards. He had long stomached an unpleasant feeling, so finally there were a few whose status were much lower than him, so naturally he must use all his might to bully them. Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang had just arrived and weren't sure of what was happening inside, so they didn't dare to rebuke him. The more Huang Yueli heard, the funnier she felt, as her lips coldly rose upwards and walked towards him. This senior brother, calling senior brother is of no use. Huang Yueli's right hand flipped, and retrieved a pile of exquisite wristband, as she secretly stuffed it into the guard's hands. Senior brother, I'm really sorry. We didn't return last night because some days ago, I entered Qi deviation while cultivating, and wasn't able to report to Celestial Light sect in time. Yesterday, I just rushed over, and senior sister Su and senior brother Yu went to pick me up. This sort of special circumstances, we will not do it ever again, so please be magnanimous and let us off just this once. The guard had received something and his expression turned slightly better. Originally, he said so much, was just to use his authority, and hoping that they would present something, in the end. Those two blockheads were so silly, other than pleading they did nothing else. He was still hesitant if he should made his words even more obvious, and finally someone had responded. This young lady seemed to be the youngest, but she knew how to act, at least she's much better than those two papaya brains. The guard mumbled as he said, Who do you think I am? Am I someone who you can casually bribe? You can also listen on. He originally wanted to hold for a moment, to see if he could squeeze something more out of them. But when he lowered his head to take a look, the minute he looked at it clearly, his eyes almost popped out, and momentarily, all the things he wanted to say were all stuck at the back of his throat. This, the young lady who stuffed the thing in his hands, was actually a pair of third-tier upper-grade wristband. He himself had merely just advanced to 4th stage realm cultivation. Although he was in South Sky region's top-rated sect like Celestial Light sect, but as an outer disciple, the advantages he could obtain was limited. Third-tier upper-grade profound armaments, to him, was absolutely an extremely valuable thing. If he wanted to buy it, he would have to throw in several years of savings into it, and he could only purchase the most inferior quality type. But now this young lady just offered a piece of third-tier upper-grade profound armament. Wasn't this a little too extravagant? What was her influence? The guard raised his head in astonishment, as he stared at her, and at the same time Huang Yueli timely unleashed her own profound energy's coercion. The guard shivered, and finally realized that the young lady in front of him was actually a fourth-stage realm practitioner. Furthermore, her cultivation was much higher than his. The guard's gaze towards her changed instantly, and his tone immediately turned much more polite. But Celestial Light Sect isn't unreasonable. You guys indeed have some special circumstances, so this time round, I'll forget about it. In future, you must take note and not violate this again. If everyone were like you guys, not putting the regulations on your minds, how would things do? Huang Yueli nodded. Senior brother, please be assured, I guarantee that we won't do it again. The guard moved sideways to let them pass. Huang Yueli led Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang, who were behind her, calmly walking right in. Even though she was the counterfeit who smuggled in, but she didn't display a single bit of guilt. As compared to the real Celestial Light Sect disciples, her performance was much more natural. Su Qingyue looked at her, and looked at the guard who was just putting on the third-tier upper-grade wrist guards to test it out. Her heart instantly ached. Sisterly, it's all our fault for the improper planning, causing you to lose such a good pair of wrist guards. Third-tier upper-grade profound armament, just to bribe that kind of bully. Sigh, what a pity. Such a waste of a heavenly item. A cold glint appeared beneath Huang Yueli's eyes. No issue, anyway it's just a third-tier upper-grade profound armament, I have lots of it here. The most important thing is to be able to smuggle into Celestial Light Sect and staying put. I have to keep a low profile and not attract anyone's attention, so for other matters, we'll just tolerate with it for now. Anyway, he didn't gain much. When she and Li Moying's relationship was announced, that guard probably would be shocked to death, so this kind of fellow wasn't worth her effort to deal with. Then, all right. Sisterly, come with me and let's report to the administrator first. Huang Yueli followed them to the administrator's courtyard. On the way, Su Qingyue roughly described Celestial Light Sect outer disciple situation. There was a large number of Celestial Light Sect outer disciples. Other than those practitioners who passed the examination to enter the sect, there were various upper-level elders or protectors' children, and some were talents, who were worth nurturing, sent over by large clans to Celestial Light Sect. Other than those, there would be some who came to the sect to ask for an apprenticeship. Although most of them were like that little boy whom Huang Yueli met yesterday, being thrown out, but there would be an extremely small number of lucky ones who would be selected by the sect's higher management who happened to pass by, who were then accepted under their wing. You can also listen on. As Su Qingyue was explaining, she started to grumble softly. Before entering the sect, I never knew that there were so many outer disciples. Furthermore, the status of outer disciples in the sect is very lowly, being ignored by everyone everywhere. Huang Yueli laughed as she thought nothing of this. What's so strange about this? When we were in Celestial Light Academy, weren't ordinary students also bullied by core students? In Soaring Heaven's Continent, power talks. Whoever has more power, naturally would have the right and ability to bully others. They were talking while walking and it didn't took much time when they reached the administrator's courtyard entrance. After getting someone to inform him, and after waiting for a long time, till the trio started to get impatient, finally a voice from inside summoned them in. The administrator's surname was Chen, and he looked like he was 40 over years old, with 2 strokes of mustache, which made him look wretched. He kept looking at Huang Yueli from head to toe, sizing her up, as he had an unfriendly tone. Why? Heard that you were into chi deviation a few days ago while you were cultivation, so you weren't able to report to the sect on time. As Celestial Light Sect's disciples, to actually commit such a silly mistake like this, doesn't it represent that you don't even know the most basic foundation of cultivation? Moreover, you tried to bite off more than you can chew. Can't you just be more down to earth and cultivate properly? We, Celestial Light Sect, only accept South Sky region's most outstanding talented practitioners, and they must be the most hardworking and steadfast practitioners, not like you. To tell the truth, if it wasn't for the fact that the sect has its regulations, I'm not even willing to let people like you report here. Anyway, with your attitude, in future you'd probably not have any large achievements, so Celestial Light Sect isn't short of people like you. Hearing Administrator Chen criticizing Huang Yueli in such a mean way, Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang were extremely furious, but they didn't dare to speak their mind. Huang Yueli's expression, however, did not change, nodding her head as she admitted her own mistake. At the same time, she brought out another piece of 4th-tier middle-grade profound artifact, as she tried the same routine earlier, to bribe Administrator Chen. After Administrator Chen accepted the item, he indeed turned magnanimous, as he asked her to leave, and telling them simultaneously, from tomorrow onwards, remember to report to the Factotum Department. Factotum Department? Su Qingyue asked curiously. Administrator Chen twisted his mustache, as he sneered, why? Don't even know about the Factotum Department? Know that to feed such a big bunch of disciples like you all, how much spirit stones is used and how much resources are wasted. You use and eat in the sect, shouldn't you use your energy to do some things for the sect? Want to be a freeloader? I'm telling you, every single outer disciple must take up a factotum. Those who don't want to work will be thrown out of Celestial Light Sect. As for other details, on that day, the people in the Factotum Department will explain further. After they left, Su Qingyue and Yu Xinyang looked at each other with dismay. Really never expected that. We need to do odd jobs. I thought we were here to cultivate. Huang Yueli merely smiled. In her previous life, she was the young sect master of a large sect, so she naturally knew that all large sects' outer disciples were required to do factotum. Actually, the security in the large sect's internal departments, and since there were too many outer disciples, it was normal for them to use their manual work to exchange for a chance to cultivate, and they had no status within the sect. If they were able to improve further from an outer disciple, turning into an inner disciple, then that would really be a party whom the sect wanted to groom, so their status would be elevated by a huge notch. Not only do they not need to do factotum, there would be a stable amount of resources which they could obtain every month, and occasionally they would receive pointers from the sect's internal top experts. You can also listen on. But the amount of nurturing which inner disciples could get were still very casual, and if they really wanted to make an achievement for themselves, they still need to become an apprentice formally to the sect master or those elders, to become direct disciples. Every elder would only have 10 direct disciples under their wings for their entire lifetime, so every single direct disciple would be able to get the sect's utmost nurturing and the elders' careful pointers, so their future achievements would also represent the elders' reputation. But wishing to become a direct descendant, the difficulty was just too high. Celestial Light Sect as the #1 sect in South Sky region, the standard which they used while selecting direct disciples, naturally were South Sky region's top-rated talents. From the people whom Huang Yueli met, Li Moying naturally was ridiculously strong, and this wasn't the normal standard, so he would naturally not be taken into consideration. But other than Li Moying, his second junior brother Li Lingchuan, fifth junior brother Luo Jiyun, and including Murong Fei, were all exceptional talents who had 8th grade innate talent. The other direct disciples whom the ordinary elders took in, totally could not be compared to sect master himself. But at the very least, they had at least 6th grade innate talent and above. To most practitioners, 6th grade innate talent simply was an existence which was legendary, an unimaginable genius. In Celestial Light Academy, Huang Yueli had already witnessed the so-called martial arts stage top 10, who were all famous talented youngsters in Sky Cloud City, but only Yuan Ziyu had barely reached 6th grade innate talent and above. As the others, don't assume that they had passed the examination and managed to join the sect, but in this place, they merely had the life of a cannon fodder. Huang Yueli smiled as she comforted Su Qingyue and party. Various large sect's outer disciples are all like this. There are many odd jobs around the sect, so surely there must be someone who had to do it right. If it wasn't for this, I'm afraid that various large sect would not even take in so many outer disciples. If you feel indignant, then put in more effort, and when you become an inner disciple, then you can cultivate in peace. Emin, I will work hard. If we can't even become the sect's inner disciple, won't we be throwing away third Miss Face? Both of them put on a determined look, which made Huang Yueli extremely satisfied. The trip returned to the place where they were arranged to stay. Huang Yueli took a look at the surroundings, and as expected, although this place was considered rather clean, but it was extremely crowded, a large quantity of outer disciples staying together. One room had to inhibit 2 people. This was equivalent to where her servants in the manor in South Yu Kingdom stayed. Yu Xinyang was worried that this master of his would be upset with the place. After all, when Huang Yueli was in Celestial Light Sect, she enjoyed the highest privilege, staying alone in the courtyard with the most abundant profound qi. However, Huang Yueli herself couldn't care less about this. Anyway, it was only for a few nights, so there wasn't a need to be too picky. It wasn't as if she was someone who hadn't suffered before. Hearing the junior sister Yi, who went into qi deviation, suddenly recovered, and had rushed over to Celestial Light Sect to report, those 10 over students from Celestial Light Academy who had joined the sect, all came over to visit her. In the past, when they were in the academy, all of them were still battling against each other, but it was only a day when they reached Celestial Light Sect, and all of them had already realized that it wasn't easy to get about here. They were all from the same academy, so at least they were considered as related, so they must stay united together. So, everyone's attitude towards Huang Yueli was affectionate, and they even prepared presents for her, wishing her a speedy recovery. Only Yuan Ziyu seemed to sense something, as he stared at Huang Yueli's face for a long time before his eyes flowed out a suspecting look. You can also listen on. But Huang Yueli remained calm and collected from the start till the end, plus the fact that Yi Xiao was usually an extremely introverted young lady, seldom speaking to other people, so in the end Yuan Ziyu didn't manage to ask her anything. When everyone left, Huang Yueli finally heaved a sigh of relief. At least, she passed another round. The second morning, while Huang Yueli was still in her dreams, she heard a continuous bam 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 knocking sounds from outside. She rubbed her eyes as she sat up. On the bed opposite her, Su Qingyue had already woken up and was looking towards the window in fright. Huang Yueli asked curiously, "What's up with this?" Su Qingyue frowned. "I have no idea, the noise outside is so loud, it seemed like someone quarreling." "Quarreling so early in the morning? Something's wrong, let's go take a look." Huang Yueli got up from the bed and took a look at the mirror to ascertain that her disguise hadn't changed before opening the door, walking out. Su Qingyue followed right behind her, and the both of them had just reached the entrance when they heard an intense argument going on from the courtyard. "What is your meaning to this? This courtyard is personally allocated to us by Administrator Qin. What right do you have to ask us to move?" Lu Ziju blocked the entrance, as he cried out agitatedly. On the outside of the door, a tall and fat young man bore an arrogant sneer as he pushed Lu Ziju hard. Lu Ziju was considered as a top-rated expert in Celestial Light Sect, but after one push by this fatty, his legs slipped and he almost fell onto the ground. He kept retreating back several steps before he managed to stabilize himself, as his face was immediately replaced with a guarded expression, looking anxiously at the fatty who pushed him. Fatty sneered, "You're asking me, Sir Fatty, what right do I have?" Just based on the fact that I'm stronger than you and based on the fact that I'm Celestial Light Sect Elder Wang's great-grandnephew. This courtyard has the densest profound qi among all the outer disciples' residents. How can students of such inferior quality like you guys even afford to stay here? Now that I've taken a liking to this courtyard, all of you hurry and scram. You simply are bullying intolerably. Right, what's the big deal? All of us are outer disciples only. Correct, even if you're Elder Wang's relative, surely you can't bully people based on your status, isn't it? Fatty Wang looked at them with disdain as he continued, "Why? Still dare to resist? Looks like, if I don't teach you newcomers a lesson, you don't know how high the skies are or how deep the earth is. I'll give you 10 breaths to consider. You want to scram yourselves, or I'll break your legs and throw you out." Those newly ascended outer disciples present were all specially selected from Celestial Light Academy. Even though they were all newcomers, but which one of them weren't core talents who were revered by the others in the academy? In the end, when they came here, it was only the third day when someone came over to pick a fight with them, and even ordered them to scram from their residence. Those who had a bit of rage in them would not be able to tolerate such a matter when they met with it. Immediately someone cried out, "Fellow surnamed Wang, don't think yourself as an upper-class person and that you are more superior than the others. So what even if you were here earlier in the sect? Do you really think we're all soft persimmons, for you to pinch to your liking? Let me show you some colors." Saying that, he shot upwards, and struck out a fist towards Fatty Wang's chest. Fatty Wang saw his aggressive punch incoming, but not only was he not worried, he even laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha ha, you're making me laugh so hard. Just this little bit of ability, and you even dare to be arrogant in the sect. Today, Sir Fatty, I will show you how things goes about here." You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.